In section 6.7, we're going to be looking at inverse relations and functions. So if we have AB as an ordered pair, and if that's a pair of a relation, then if we flip those coordinates, BA is the ordered pair of its inverse. And then another important thing to note is that the inverse of a function might not be a function itself. So let's look at how we could find an inverse equation. Let's say we have the equation y equals x squared plus 1, and we want to find the inverse of the relation described to it. So all that I'm going to do here, when I'm trying to find an inverse, is I'm going to take the x and y coordinates and then switch them out. So now my new equation looks like this. From there, to get my new equation, I want to get my new y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides, and then my last step, I have y squared. So I'm going to square root both sides, and I'm left with y is plus or minus the square root of x minus 1. So again, in 2 steps, first I switch out my x and y coordinate, or where my x and y are in the equation, and then I solve for y. So another way of writing this would be to call it an inverse function. So here I have f of x equals 1 over x minus 1, and I want to find the inverse function. So sometimes you could write the inverse as f negative 1 of x. So what I want to do here is I'm still going to write out my stuff. So I'm just going to write out my equation f of x equals 1 over x minus 1. One way that you could look at f of x is it's just your output still. So I'm going to change that to y. And then I have the same equation as before, or the same situation as before. So I'm going to swap out my x and y coordinates. So I'm going to rewrite this as x equals 1 over y minus 1. And then from there, I'm going to solve for y. So right now it's trapped in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply both sides by y minus 1. And I'm going to write my new one up here. I have x times y minus 1 over 1. I'll divide both sides by x. I have y minus 1 equals 1 over x. My last step, I'll add 1 to both sides. So my new equation is y equals 1 over x plus 1. Finally, in my last step, just to write it in function notation, I'm going to write this as f inverse x. And that'd be it.